Many families and educators are seeking resources to help teach kids the value of diverse, equitable, and inclusive communities, especially given the recent protests surrounding racial discrimination and police brutality. Well, next month, October, it's National Bullying Prevention Month and Global Diversity Awareness Month, making right now the perfect time to teach kids about empathy and understanding one another. Joining me is bullying prevention expert Dr. Jasmine Williams to discuss the importance of stopping race-based bullying and harassment. Doctor, thanks for joining us. Tell us how families and educators can teach kids about bullying and teach them to also be good bystanders.
At Community for Children, we've developed the Cats and Compassion campaign to do exactly that, to help families and educators talk with kids about how to activate their bystander power, which is the ability to recognize, refuse, and report bullying. And we do that through an original and research-based comic strip series that features superhero Cats and Compassion as she guides her trusty sidekick, Kid Kinder, through different bullying situations where he learns to recognize bullying when he sees it, refuse the bullying, and report it to a trusted adult.
Oh, wow. I see some of the graphic images right behind you. That's very nice. What is the best way to start the conversation with kids about the value of diverse, equitable, and inclusive communities, especially when you don't know how to start that conversation?
Yeah, a lot of parents and educators and families are really struggling right now to have these critical conversations that are at the top of mind about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so similar to in the ways that children's literature is used to start these conversations, we've designed the Cats and Compassion campaign this year to focus on racially motivated bullying. So this year, you'll see Kid Kinder venture into an online gaming world where he is bullied because of his race. And so you'll see Cats and Compassion kind of help him navigate those situations to really understand that what's happening to him is bullying and some things that he can do to cope with that.
Well, I think it's great that there's like this literature, these characters that we can use to help start that conversation, maybe in an easier way, something the kids can relate to a little bit better. Can you talk about the prevalence of bullying and some of the long-term effects that are negative on our kids?
Yeah, so we know that 35% of Black students report being bullied based on their race, and that's higher than any other group. We also know that all those involved in bullying, those who engage in bullying behavior, those who are targets and victims of bullying, as well as those who witness it, can suffer long-term health consequences. So it's really important that we start to help kids early on learn what bullying is and learn the power of being a bystander. Because we also know that when bystanders intervene, we can reduce bullying by up to 50%. So it's really critical that we empower kids to use that bystander power to prevent bullying.
Are there any ways for parents to navigate, maybe they have their own personal discomfort when they're talking to kids about race-based bullying? What ways can they do this? It's not always an easy conversation for families.
No, it's not. It's not always an easy conversation. And, providing tools to start the conversation, like the Cats Compassion comic, is one way. But it's really important for, parents to just be open, honest, and authentic in these conversations. If your child asks you a question and you don't know the answer, it's okay to say that I don't know and I'm learning just like you, and then go find out the answer to that and follow up with your kids. Honestly, it's just about being open and willing to engage in the conversation and knowing that this is a learning journey for all of us. We might stumble through some of these conversations, but when you have tools like the Cats and Compassion campaign to start the conversation and research-based tips and advice, it makes it just a little bit easier.
So true. Mommy and Daddy don't always have all the answers. We are all learning together. What are the nuances between bullying, discrimination, and harassment, and how can they intersect in race-based bullying?
That's a great question. So, bullying is often defined by being repeated physical, social, or verbal aggression. And that repeated part is where it kind of differs from harassment and discrimination, because only one incident of harassment or discrimination, can have a long-term negative out outcome and consequences for kids. And so what also makes it different is that harassment and discrimination are specific to acts of aggression that are based on someone's identity or perceived characteristics, such as their race, gender, or identity.
And what signs should parents like me, parents that are out there watching, what can they look out for when it comes to signs of bullying and how to prevent it?
So some things that you might see if your child is being bullied is that they might become disengaged from school, a little more withdrawn. But honestly, those open lines of communication are going to be really key, is because what you need to have is like that foundation for kids to come to you to talk about what's going on.
And it sounds like, Captain Compassion is there. This is the third annual Captain Compassion campaign. So that's a great way to open up that conversation, maybe ease into it with our kids. And you mentioned empowering our children by communicating with them. Dr. Jasmine Williams, is there anything else we can do to empower our children?
The best thing you can do is to be a role model and to display the behaviors that you want to see in your kids. So being empathetic, being kind and compassionate, and modeling those behaviors for kids is really key to helping them be able to develop those key skills for preventing bullying.
All right, Dr. Williams, thanks so much for joining us to talk about the importance of teaching kids about bullying. Kindness, it's such a big thing. It's not that hard. For more on teaching kids about bullying prevention, visit captaincompassion.org.